People was telling me I was drinking too much, but I just would tell them basically, you know, I'm just relaxing, having fun. I deserved it because I just come back from Vietnam, and I got to a point in my life that I didn't have a job. I was on the streets, no place to go, and I had a couple of sons, abandoned them for the bottle, destroyed anything and everything coming in my path.
I just watched the world go by. When from the corner of my eye I saw you walking, I saw you walking right up to me. I found what I've been missing, someone who will listen, someone who will listen to my soul. I'd forgotten how to feel, I'd forgotten what was real. I'm open for the first time in very long. And now I've let you in, I'm ready to begin. Find a man, the man in me I thought was gone.
Hello, and welcome to our series When Vets Gather. My name is Scott Shuley, retired Army veteran. We believe that veterans can be the best resources for other veterans. When veterans gather, either one-on-one or in a group, it's our fraternal responsibility to take care of each other. Through the next series of episodes, 15 veterans as well as other family members will share their personal struggle towards recovery. And their wish, as well as ours, for you is hope. We are fortunate to have with us today retired Army Command Sergeant Major William Joe Gainey, the very first senior enlisted advisor to the Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff. Welcome, Joe. Joe, could you tell us a little bit about the story?
Scott, I'll be glad to. Michael Killam was a Vietnam veteran who struggled with his addictions during and after his service. And I can tell you he has an unimaginable story.
Sounds like a great story, Joe, one that a lot of veterans can relate to. Let's go to the Veterans Roundtable for the interview with Joe and Michael.
Today I am honored to have with me Michael Killam. So Michael, you know, I found it very interesting when I read your story about how you classify your life in seasons. Tell us about that.
A counselor told me that we were, during our time, we're kind of meant to live around 80 years. I found that interesting because my life, if I took that 80 years and split it into the 4 seasons, it's just the way my life came to be. I was born in the summer in San Angelo, Texas. I was born on a working ranch. I rode horses from the time I could stand, and it was the summer of my life. Everything was bright. I made friends. I grew up in a real small rural town, but it was a real tight community, and we cared about one another. I graduated from high school in a class of 8, fell in love. I married my high school sweetheart. We were set for the rest of our lives. And then I got drafted. I was 19 years old. I spent my last year as a teenager in Vietnam. And in Vietnam, I made that transition from summer to fall.
Michael, when you was in Vietnam, what was your MOS?
My forte really was my prowess with weapons, with shooting, and they learned that. So after about 60 to 90 days, I was put in a gunner's position.
That's a door gunner, right?
Door gunner on a small observation helicopter with a unit that primarily did combat assault or combat support. Unfortunately, I was captured by the VC, and I was held in captivity for about 3 days, and some real bad things happened, and I escaped. And when I escaped, I was, first of all, I was really beat up, and this dark experience came over me, and I didn't see things the way I used to. The texture of the world had changed, the hue, and I really don't know how to explain it.
You explained
But there was
it very well.
a sharp contrast had come over that. I isolated from people. I didn't want to get to know anyone. I had done some things that were questionable as far as the values that I grew up with. In fact, the values I grew up with were just shattered. I couldn't even tell you what they were anymore. I got shot a few times. I specifically got shot in the left leg, and I overheard a medic tell another one that I might lose my leg. And I don't know if you've ever been shot, but it hurts.
Oh, it hurts.
And
yes.
there's a lot of physical pain.
Yeah.
But when he said that, it's like the physical pain kind of subsided, and it was more a psychological pain of what was I going to be like without a leg. I don't know how to, I guess it was dread. They gave me a shot of morphine. And when they did that, I didn't care if I had a leg or not. It took away that physical pain and that psychological trauma immediately. So the next time I got hurt, I did morphine.
Okay.
And the next time I didn't get hurt, I did morphine. And it was for that. With that, I could escape the war. I could escape the horror. That last year as a teenager was a sharp definition between the summer of my life and the beginning of the fall.
You know, Michael, we all have to come home. When you came home, what was it like?
I found out that home had really changed. It wasn't like it was before. In fact, my wife didn't even recognize me. So this transition from summer to fall, it was like a deep, deep fracture in my life. I'd grown up one way, and then
It's gone.
fractured, and it's gone. Then, around when I was about 40, I'm going to enter the winter season now. I had isolated so long. I isolated from my children. I wasn't the father I should have been. I wasn't the husband I should have been. And again, that hue of the world, that texture, that was the second time it changed. And I mean, this time it was like nightmarish. I had gone to the VA in '78 and told them I had a friend, had a heroin problem, couldn't quit. And they said, bring your friend in, we'll give him methadone. And I said, no, my friend doesn't like methadone. So I went to the VA in '88, and I told them, you know, my friend is desperate, and he can't quit. And they said, bring him in, we'll give him methadone.
Methadone.
No, he doesn't like methadone. So I went in '98, after the divorce, after being divorced for 4 years and just really bumbling around and in a lot of pain. And I went in '98, and I told them I don't have a friend. I don't have any friends. And it's me, and I can't stop. And they said, we'll help you. And they put me in a rubber room for 21 days. And they wouldn't even give me an aspirin. But I haven't done any heroin since November 10th, 1998, the day before Veterans Day. And I thought that was my problem. And unfortunately, I substituted everything else in the world for heroin after that, and I found out my problem resided deep within me, and it had to do with that stuff in Vietnam. The winter that I experienced was like spiritual midnight. And it was like Groundhog Day from, I woke up every day in the same place. I knew what I had to do, and I did it, even though I didn't want to. I did it, and then I'd just pass out. And I'd wake up and nothing changed. It's still the same. I knew what I had to do. I did it. So, 7 years ago, I was in an abandoned storage unit on Camp Bowie Boulevard in Fort Worth, Texas. And I woke up and it was so cold. Actually, it was 7 years ago yesterday. Yesterday. I woke up and it was so cold. I was sleeping on plate steel with cardboard on it.
I'd forgotten how to feel. I'd forgotten what was real.
Welcome back. We just had a discussion at the Vet Roundtable of Michael Killam. Michael, I don't know how you endured all of the struggles you went through. To me, brother, it was just overwhelming.
Well, I can tell you, Joe, from my own experience, I tried everything I could, and when everything I could do failed miserably, I surrendered. And you know, that was something we were taught never to do, was to surrender. And it was only through surrender that I gained a foothold on recovery.
That's very important what you just said. Sometimes we, folks veterans that's taught never surrender, we have to surrender in order to have hope. Well, Michael, I want to thank you for your openness and sharing this story, not only with me, but all the other veterans that's watching. You know, it really means a lot that you would do this. Please stay with us, Michael and myself, and join us again at the conclusion of his story.
When from the corner of my eye, I saw you walking, I saw you walking right up to me.
But a couple old drunks that I'd met in AA, and old drunks, I mean recovering alcoholics.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah, they found me. I don't know how they found me. But they spoon-fed me alcohol for 3 days until I quit shaking. And I had been to Bonham 2 years before, in 2005, and I got 60 days clean and thought I was cured. My sponsor told me, no matter how bad you think it is, right now, if you use again, it's going to get worse. And I didn't believe him. So 2007, when I went, that's the first person I saw, was my sponsor, and he goes, well, did it get better? And I told him no. And he said, but I'll tell you the real part of this. If you make recovery your priority, and you do what you're told to do, a life will open up to you that's unimaginable. And I believed him that time. And I started doing what I was supposed to do. I let go of everything that I had, walked away from it, threw away the cell phone. I wouldn't talk to people that didn't care about me. And believe me, by that time there was hardly anyone. And I started living a new life. And I found some structure. And I really found it talking to other veterans. We have a rapport. We have a sense of duty. We have things in our vocabulary like honesty, open-mindedness, willingness, courage, You know, respect. We have those things in our vocabulary and we live it. And we don't even have to talk.
Yes.
We just feel it within our experience with each other. During this process, you make a list of all the people that you've harmed. And he goes, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write a letter to everyone on that list. And in that letter, I want you to tell them there's absolutely no way you can change what you did. There's absolutely no way you can make up for what you did. But from this point forward, I'll not make that mistake again, and I'll do that in your honor. And I thought, well, that's real simple, but then I tried to start writing it, and it's like something took over my writing. It wasn't me. Something else went into that, and it was like I was a conduit, like like something was being channeled through me, because I don't really know how to describe, like a trance maybe. But I'd go into those letters fully conscious, fully aware of the reality, but when I'd come out of them, it's like something had changed. And then I started going to grave sites, and I took letters to my grandparents and my dad and brother, and I read those letters. I'd lied to my brother, and I said, I'm not going to ever lie that way again, and when I do that, it'll be in your honor. And I would burn these letters at the gravesite in a little chimney, and when the smoke would go up, I felt a relief. I felt like a connection had been made, and something very, very scarring within myself had kind of found some relief. I had stolen a TV from my Aunt Tomaloo. I mean, she had like 9 kids, and they're all over the place, and it's a hurricane, but she had her programs, and when she was into her program, she was at peace. So yes, I took a lot of serenity. I wrote my letter to Aunt Tomaloo, and said, you got to get her a TV. And I said, well, TVs cost money. TV I saw was like a Zenith, and it was like 500 pounds. It was about this big and had a picture screen like this. And he goes, you get her a TV. So I got her a 32-inch flat screen. And I told her, I said, Aunt Tomaloo, I can never take back what I did, and I can never change it. But I have this flat screen TV out in my truck, and if you would accept it, I would consider it an honor. And she goes, Michael, I knew you took that TV. I said, why did you tell me? And she said, I wanted to see if you'd ever grow a conscience.
And you did.
And she cried because I grew a conscience. She didn't cry because she got a TV. She cried because I left her. I'm having a real hard time with this guy. He was one of my gunners in Vietnam, and he crashed, and he was trapped, and he was going to die. And he asked me if I would tell his mother that he loved her, and I said, sure. I mean, we're getting shot at. Bullets are going everywhere. Things on fire. We're going to have to destroy the helicopter. We're going to have to get rid of the communication system. So the members of our infantry, the 173rd Airborne, they cut out what they could, and we blew it up. And it was just another day in horror.
Yeah.
Horrorville. And I never really thought much of it until I wrote those letters. He said, They got a Vietnam, they got a Texas memorial at Fair Park. Go there. I went out there real late at night because I didn't want anybody to see me. I found his name. I had a pack of Lucky Strikes. I lit him one and I lit me one. And I opened that letter and I read, and I said, you know, I forgot all about you until now. And that's not the way I wanted it. But I told him I didn't keep that promise. And there's absolutely no way I can make up for it. There's no way I can change it. But I told him this: if I ever make a promise again, I'll keep it. And I'll keep it out of respect for you. So I just left it there, and so I went over to the Tomb to the Unknown, Texas Vietnam vet, and I leaned over it and I had my arms on it, and something touched me on the back. And I came around and I hit this lady and knocked her purse out of her hand, and she go rolling down that hill. And so I'm helping her. Are you okay? She held that letter out, and she said, I noticed you left this letter. And I said, yeah, that was a buddy of mine in Vietnam, and I had made a promise that I'd tell his mother he loved her, and I didn't keep that promise, so I was letting him know. And she said, well, that guy was my brother, and he died 38 years ago today. She dialed her mother on her cell phone, and I got to speak to his mother, and I asked her, I said, is there anything in the world I can do for you? Anything in the world. Just let me know what I can do for you. And she said, can you come and see me? And I said, I'll come anywhere you are. I'll go to any lengths. And she lived in Abilene. So the next day I was in Abilene, and I got to spend some time with her. And she brought out 3 picture albums. And I was in 3 pictures in those albums. And you know, I got to tell her how brave her son was. And I got to tell her how many lives he saved, including mine. And I got to tell her that his last thoughts were of his love for you. And she was telling me goodbye out by the truck. And she hugged me real hard and whispered in my ear, you kept your promise. And for the first time since Vietnam, I felt a connection again to the human race. I felt connected in a way that I used to be when I was a teenager on that ranch with my peers. And we could discuss anything in the world. We could be anybody or anything that we wanted to be, as long as we were honest with one another, and we could make it together.
Michael, in closing, is there anything else you would like to say?
In this brief twilight of my spring, things have happened to me that are downright miracles. All those values I grew up with, that we all grow up with, have been restored to me in a way that I never could have imagined. Our message is hope, and it's hope that any veteran, no matter what the circumstances, can recover, even a vet like me.
Brother, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Michael, your story is amazing. It really is. You know, brother, the lessons that you have learned, the lessons that you have shared, and your final message is so important to all of us, veterans and even non-veterans. Could you Tell us if you have anything else you would like to say to the veterans, expand on what you just talked about.
Well, I know that for myself, and we've talked about it before, I had gone to psychologists and psychiatrists, and they intimated that my prognosis was probably not that good, that they had seen people in my stage of retrograde, and that there was very little hope. And they brought that word up, hope. And I found that word again in recovery. I found out that needed to be our message. Our message had to be one of hope. Hope that any veteran could recover. And not only recover, but regain that sense of self-esteem, regain those values that we thought were long lost. And for me, I felt connected again to the human race.
You know, thank you so much, Michael. You know, what I've gained from you is a couple of things. You have to be willing to want to recover. And hope is something, Michael, that I think all the veterans watching, myself, have gained from watching, listening to you. And I want to thank you, my brother, Michael, and please take care of yourself.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Wow, Joe, that was a compelling story. Thank you and Michael for sharing that with us. Can you tell us about the next episode with Michael's continuing story?
Well, Michael will share more of his amazing story, and he will talk about his internal struggle and how he dealt with post-traumatic stress syndrome and his path to recovery.
Thanks, Joe. And I really want to thank our viewers, our veterans, our service members and their families. And remember, our wish for you is hope.
When from the corner of my eye I saw you walking, I saw you walking right up to me. I found what I've been missing, someone who will listen, someone who will listen to my soul. I'd forgotten how to feel.
But I've had all this I can handle. So I decided to sober up and do some stuff.
I don't want to get through this interview without telling you publicly. This opportunity comes around maybe once in a lifetime. To meet someone who can change your life completely for the better, and gave it away, just absolutely gave it away. No ifs, ands, and buts. And it's not just me, Burl. There were thousands of us that are alive today, leading productive lives, like you say, because of you.
It's the only thing in my life that I've ever done that I love, and I truly believe that that's my deal. It's because the gift that was given to me. And I think a person has the obligation, if they've received recovery, they need to give it away. If one veteran or the whole bunch gets something out of it, I've done my deal.
Let the fire inside me be my friend. I found what I've been missing. It was someone who would listen, someone who would listen to my soul. Someone who would listen to my soul.